there was an article in IndieWire about Terrence Malick, specifically about The New World, which is a great film. But Malick's approach kind of pissed off two key collaborators in that movie, and it was revealed in this blog here. So let me just read parts of it to you guys. Malick's less than traditional editing approach made him an enemy of the original composer James Horner. Terrence Malick's intuitive, freewheeling approach to shooting and his disregard for sticking to a script made scoring the film a nightmare for James Horner. Writing and rewriting pieces for scenes that changed from page to camera were cut, reordered, and abandoned. Most of his music was eventually axed, and the experience severely embittered the composer. In a radio interview, Horner laid into Malick hard. He said he went out shooting the movie, went over time, and got beautiful images, and everybody said, "Oh, God, this is so beautiful." There are a couple of things that were pasted together by a couple of the experienced editors of the love scenes. Oh, this is going to be great. He had 8 editors working for him. There was so much film he was working on night after night. When he first saw it, it was a mismatch of unrelated scenes, and Horner said, "Well, Terry, you need to do this and this. You need to make it coherent." Malick apparently didn't listen to him, even though the studio told him the same thing. James Horner saw the final cut, and red lights started to go up because he's getting close to his recording dates, and he felt that the film was unscorable as it was. He played scenes as he actually tried to coach Malick on how he should put the movie together.
oh God!
I'm sure that went well. And Malick just essentially disregarded James Horner. James Horner said, "I am bitter. What happened was I'm bitter because he did not make the movie he promised everybody he would make. Everybody felt betrayed, from the film company down to the editors. And this was the man who took the story that could have been one of the great love stories in history and turned it into crap. And it's because
God!
And it's because he doesn't believe in those kind of maudlin things like love. He doesn't understand them. And most importantly, this is James Horner talking about Malick. And most importantly, he has not an emotion in his body. He's emotionless." Wow. That's juicy stuff.
What I have to say to that is that Malick has more talent in one cell of his body than all of James Horner's entire family history has, right back to the beginning of time. Because
could you state that stronger, Dean?
There goes the James Horner interview.
It's really a good idea to pay attention to what a director like Malick wants. Just because you can't understand him doesn't mean that he's some kind of crazy lunatic. The fact is that the movie is a great love story. It is a moving film. It's the best film of the past decade, no question about it. And the guy comes out with a great movie every time he goes out there. And just because your feelings are hurt because you didn't get to score it from tip to stern doesn't mean that you're right. The fact of the matter is that movie, in particular, that movie garners a lot of its emotional power from a piece of music that was Richard Wagner's a piece of music that begins and closes the movie that comes from a Wagner opera. And Horner could never score anything that could be better than that.
What strikes me about Horner, too, is that he worked for 2 years trying to score Avatar, and it sounds completely derivative of everything else he's ever done. I mean, he didn't come up with anything new in Avatar.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, he kind of just does the same score over and over again. And actually, if I were Malick, especially after the last film, especially after Tree of Life, where you can't really tell where the Desplat music begins and ends, and where the numerous pieces of classical music begin and end. You know, I don't even know why Malick even bothers hiring somebody to score his movies. I would. If
well,
I were
I've listened to the soundtrack of Tree of Life. Desplat does impressive work, and Desplat is actually pretty much for me the top composer now, and I think perfect for Malick, because the thing that makes Desplat great is that he's eccentric. He wants something new. He wants to be challenged and create a different kind of soundscape.
I definitely agree with you about Desplat being the most talented score writer these days.
Right.
No question about it. And, you know, what I'm saying, though, is that I can't really tell where his music is in the movie because there's so much classical music in the movie. I mean, when you look at the roll call of all the classical bits that are used in the movie, there's like 80 pieces used in it.
Right.
So it's like, what I'm saying is not that Desplat did a bad job, because all the music in the movie, whoever wrote it, was good, but that I'm not really sure why Malick chooses to hire somebody. Well, I mean, you know, Kubrick never had anybody score in his movies. They were all. He threw
away scores from 2001 on. Well, actually, no. I mean, Carlos did, you know, interpretations of classical scores, but
he had
Kubrick,
his daughter do that score for that sort of percussive score for Full Metal Jacket.
Right.
That's about as close as he ever came.
But his take on scoring was, look, you have the greatest music ever made in the classical composers that they can't match, and you have an endless library of this music. I mean, why would you go anyplace else? That was Kubrick's take on it. I mean, I appreciate the art of film scoring too much to say that that's an absolute. But I see it for Kubrick, working for Kubrick. But James Horner isn't the only person that hated working with Malick on the New World. Christopher Plummer didn't care for his methods either.
Oh, yeah.
If you compare the drama on The Thin Red Line to the New World and read both of these features, the latter film seems tame by comparison. But actually, like Horner, others had their issues as well on the New World. One was Christopher Plummer, who was extremely candid about his disappointment in Malick's notorious methods, even comparing his excised role, the role that was cut down so badly, to Adrian Brody's infamously chopped role in The Thin Red Line. He's fascinated by nature and just cuts to birds, Plummer told the New York Magazine earlier this year.
Yeah, that's right.
Colin Farrell didn't like it too much either. You'd be playing a passionate film, and he'd say in that strange southern voice of his, mixed with Harvard and Oxford, yes, stop a minute, Chris. I think there's an osprey flying over there. Do you mind if I just take a few shots? I wrote him an infuriated letter because I saw the film and I was hardly in it. He cut my part to shit. And it recalled the story of Adrian Brody, the lead in The Thin Red Line. He went to the premiere and he wasn't in it either. I wrote to Terry and said, you need a writer, baby. You need somebody to follow the story. I was awful to him, but I did say I admired him. He's an individual, as also mad as a hatter.
I think everybody needs to realize that Malick goes to the beat of his own drum, and if you get into one of his movies, you better throw out. I think that's what happened with Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was certainly shocked to see how he worked as well. But after a while, he realized that he just had to throw out everything that he knew in order to work with this.
You got to throw out your ego. You got to throw your ego. It sounds like to work with him.
It sounds like that.
And you know,
both of these are ego-driven things.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Plummer is a great actor, but I always liked Nicholson's take on it. Nicholson, one of the greatest actors, and probably the most fascinating, interesting, colorful career you can find.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because of the people he chooses to collaborate with throughout his career.
Right.
Antonioni, Kubrick. I mean, and his take has always been, I am in the director's hands.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to mold me however they want to mold me. Use me however you see fit. That's my job, which is great. But the thing is, he's putting himself in the hands of Kubrick and other great directors. Malick is, without a doubt, a terrific director, and his actors and collaborators should have had that same level of trust that Nicholson has for his directors.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I think, it's like, you just got to you have to really take your ego out of it. I mean, I don't know how, especially with Malick. I mean, like Dean said, he marches, he just does what he wants to do, and there's no one is going to be able to stop that.
Yeah.
I mean, so
you just got to know that. You got to know that going in, And I mean, I guess the word's getting out, that hey, if you want to work with this guy, through these articles, because I read the Thin Red Line article that was also about the difficulty and the shock that people had about working with him. I think it's just, now the word is out. Now everybody knows. So just, when you sign up for a Malick movie, you should know that it's not going to be like any other movie that you've ever worked on.
Yeah, you should sign up for a Malick movie because you want to be in a Malick movie. You want that experience.
Exactly.